Advantage Athletic Therapy, personalized rehabilitation programs with a whole body approach. Enjoy the podcast.
Hi, Lori. How are you today?
Wonderful. How are you?
Good, good. It's Dave Scott. Lori from Purposely Unplugged. It's our July 2026 show. I got to tell you, the one we did last month on shame, I think there's a lot there to unpack down the road. I'm reorganizing it a bit and putting it back out because I think that there's some underlying currents I want to look into with people. And I really want to thank you because one of the comments I got back was it was excellent done, not on my part, but on your part. So you know how that goes. What are we talking about this month? What's July hold for us?
July, I am encouraging people to go to Shoppers or a drugstore or a grocery line and pick up a copy of this magazine. It's
Great.
called Well-Being, and it's a magazine that's been out for quite some time. I buy them regularly. There's articles in there that I talk to clients about all the time because they're easy and the topics are just nice to talk about. So today, I'm going to talk about digital journaling or audio journaling, and it is covered in this episode or this magazine that is on the shelf until the end of August.
So what brought this on? I mean, why all of a sudden are we talking about this? You usually have a background story for me.
Yeah. Well, and you know me, I've always got two or three things on the go. But I pulled out the same book from 2022. And you could see I had a Post-it note on that because there is an article in that book about sighing. You know, when we just let out that breath, that big sigh. I was working with a couple this week, actually, and the wife was interpreting the sigh as a bad thing, like exhaustion or frustration. But live on screen, the husband did a sigh. And I said, wait a minute, tell me what that means. Tell me what that means for you. For him, it's actually a relaxed, calming thing to do. She was interpreting it as a stressful thing to do. And live on screen, we were able to work out something as simple as a sigh, which gave me the chance to go back and tell the story from Mental Health, you know, the magazine. And then I thought, I better look at this month's. So I pulled it out and actually read through it and thought it's stellar. This magazine that is out on the shelves right now is stellar. There are so many things in this magazine that just really made me stop to think. So it's a great one to pick up. And each
Okay.
one of the chapters in this magazine has a summary page. So there's these little wee tips and tricks. Every article in this one is very good. But the one I love is about digital journaling or audio journaling. So that's what I'd really like to talk about.
It's far away. I'm interested.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reason this came up again was I was working with someone else who said, you know, I'm an audio processor. I need to talk things out and talk things out and talk things out. And my husband never listens. He shuts me down. So I just don't feel good about that. So what I thought about was, what if she audio journals first? What if she utilizes this strategy to get out what she needs to get out, process her thoughts for herself, but then when she's speaking to her husband, just give the nutshell summaries, not the whole story. So it's come up more and more. And in another situation, in a trauma case, it's come up. So when I read it in this magazine, I thought, okay, let's talk about this.
That's interesting because you're trying to get your point across, but this gives you a chance to gather those thoughts so you can sort of break it down to what areas are important, right? That you're trying to emphasize to the person, because communication gets so confused sometimes, even between the husband and wife, that it's a misinterpretation of what you're saying sometimes if you're not on point.
It is. It is. And then the patterning within a couple is one person is shutting down and not listening when the other person needs to be heard. And then that's where some of that miscommunication is coming from. So if there's something you can do to shift your need in communication to make it easier for the other person to listen, then really this is about the sender and receiver, which you and I have talked about so many
Yeah.
times. This is just a different lens to look through to capture some of those thoughts for people.
And it's interesting too, because I'm more pen to paper, but I'll go back and I'll read and go, that doesn't make sense. What am I talking about? Right. Because then you're trying to figure out what the essence is of that conversation you're having with yourself to share with others like we do in the hub. So it's interesting in that aspect. I never really looked at it as a tool like that, but that's kind of
Mhm.
cool.
Mhm. And when you look at this and you look at audio journaling and things, what's going to pop up are things that are telling us that journaling is important. It's really a supplement. If you're still a writer, then keep writing. But maybe it's a supplementary piece that you add to it. And really, around journaling, it doesn't matter how you do it, it's more that consistently you do it. That's where we really get the therapeutic kind of outreach and kind of that thing for ourselves is really in the consistency, not necessarily the method.
So we've talked about sort of the mental aspect, how you're organizing your thoughts. What's it doing on the other side of the things for you? On the other side of the mental health issue, is it allowing you to free yourself of that burden, or is it allowing you to, sort of channel different energies? What's it do?
Well, the thing is, for different people, it's going to do different things, but it's capturing your ideas. It's letting you vent your ideas. If there's emotion, it's usually unfiltered. Even when we write, we're literally sometimes filtering the right words and what we want it to look like or say. So when we do it from this audio perspective, it's, unfiltered, it's true, it's honest, it might be a bit emotional, and maybe we wouldn't share that same level of emotion when we talk to our friends, our family, or our partners. So it just gives this emotional venting space as well.
It's that outlet, right? And so, does that like I think I would probably be too analytical. I'd probably go back, go, oh, I don't want to say that. Oh, I don't want to do this. Or is is that part of the process too? You're sort of eliminating maybe what was just bothering you, not what the other person's bothering you about or something?
Perhaps. And because it's digital at that point, you just delete them. At
Yep.
that point, it's not as cumbersome. I mean, when we journal, if it's in a book, we don't want to rip it out. So those kinds of things. And it feels more permanent and someone might be able to find it. If it's an audio piece, simply delete it. That is definitely a possibility. And if you Google this, it's very easy to find templates or systems to use if you want to. Some people just use their phone itself, but there's certainly a whole world now around this digital journaling option.
It's interesting. I mean, I think I mean, I want to have those one-on-one conversations, but I think, don't you think too? Okay, I'm gonna back this up a bit because if I'm going to have a conversation with someone and it's not something I really want to talk about, I've already ran it through my brain 100 times. You know what I mean? I've already figured out what I do and don't want to say. Is that Are folks missing that piece or are they just skipping over it? I'm not sure.
Well, that might be a different way to do this piece. So, really, when we think about things over and over and over, that's called rumination. That's a whole nother episode, Dave. Like you're lining us up for October now. So, there you go. But other people, it would be just a different way. And if you're a verbal thinker, if you're someone who needs to talk things through, then this just gives you another way to do it in a safe way. Like you said, you've thought about what you want to say to the person because you can mentally do that. Maybe not everyone can do that. So it just gives a different option and a different way to talk it through and kind of hear yourself. We used to use this when we were teaching people to get ready for interviews. So back to my old employment counseling days, we would say say it out loud, record yourself, but we use videos to see yourself as well. But this is something that actually I've probably been talking about for 25 years, but now see the lens through an emotional standpoint for a therapeutic approach.
Okay, I'm gonna throw another curveball on this just to mess with you, audio journaling. Um, the environment that's around you is going to help contribute to the mood that you are in. So if I'm outside and I'm doing this, I'm probably going to be a lot less animated. I'm going to be more subtle. How much does that influence? Is that part of this process too? I mean, if you're if you're in a dark room, you might be just ranting. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, but and as you say that though, I'm thinking something different because I also teach primal scream where you go out into the woods and do primal scream. So,
Is
I
that
see.
you I hear?
So, in all reality, even out in the woods, it doesn't matter. It could be an emotional response. It could be a quieter response.
Okay.
I think that depends on the person, but I love that sense of humor because yes, I teach primal scream. So
I did not know that.
yeah.
There's the November show. See, we're learning this.
Yeah.
We're learning all about this. Is
Yeah.
this something you recommend to a lot of clients then? Is this a sort of a, hey, you should start doing this?
Well, I never say, "Hey, you should start doing this," but it's a way to say when a client is generating solutions and problems and brainstorming those things, it's one more thing to add to the conversation. And it is something that has come up in conversation quite regularly with clients. So when I saw it in the magazine, I thought, yep, that's the topic. But honestly, I know I've already said this issue that's on the shelf till August has fabulous. There are
That's what you're
so
saying.
many pieces in this book that just made me stop and think, ah, that was a good read.
It,
Absolutely.
I think too, like you said earlier about the individual who's doing this journaling, if you're a quiet person who, very introspective, I think I would be more inclined to do that. I do with writing, but just I need that quiet space to do it for myself. Is that in a lot of cases too, where people are just trying to, that outlet. They're not outgoing or big social people. They just need that outlet to sort of let it out, let that pressure off, like we talked about earlier.
Mhm. And that is what they're doing, whether they're doing a written kind of journaling or whether they're doing it this way or even a creative journaling. I've got clients that are painters. So their journaling is really different painting items. And so
That's
there's
cool.
so many ways to kind of capture our thoughts, capture our ideas that this can be customized to what the person wants. And this is just one more thing to consider.
I like that there's so many outlets that are acceptable that people can express themselves in order to alleviate maybe the stresses in their lives now. I think that's come a long way in the last 30 years, don't you?
Well, in the very fact that we're carrying around cell phones now and, this whole piece about technology, it makes it so much easier just to have those conversations. And in this case, the audio journaling, digitally journaling, whatever you want to call it just gives you another piece to consider. You can be
It's cool.
anywhere, it takes a minute maybe to do it. But if you've got that calming relief from it, then that's what makes sense.
It's cool. Anything else you want to add? Because this is a really interesting topic. I do have a question that was sent to us that I do want to send ask you about when we're done this session. So what is there anything else you want to add
Nothing
about
else
this
to
journal?
add, just that I've appreciated this magazine and glad we can talk about it. You mentioned that you can actually subscribe online to this magazine, which I didn't
That's what I
know.
saw. Yeah.
Yeah, I am
Yeah.
a paper person. I just buy it, but you're right. It can be digital. I didn't know that. And just to step back to last month, it was a difficult topic. We talked about shame, but
Yeah.
I talked about it because it comes up so much in the space that clients and I create. It's very real. No one wants to talk about it, but I'm okay taking the risk in these moments to talk about difficult things. And that's actually what I'm going to do. So, last month, which was June, was shame. This month is kind of an easier topic. So if we
Right.
think of it like a hamburger, right? A difficult topic, the easier topic, we're going to lead to a more difficult topic in August, and that is going to be anger. Something else that no one wants to talk about.
Which brings me to my question.
Oh,
A gentleman had emailed me and asked me to ask you this, a friend of mine, and he said, and it's so in line with what we're talking about. He said, "Is there a difference between male and female anger?" So maybe we should leave that for next month, and
well, I think
we both can think about it.
Well, I think there's differences, but it might not be to male or female. So, I don't want to pigeonhole male or female, but there are definitely different ways that we hold anger, different ways that we respond to anger, and different ways that anger responds in our own body. So, yes, that is a fabulous topic. And we will be talking about anger, even though it's going to be a difficult thing for people to listen to.
I think my 2 cents worth is I think anger causes both male and female so much stress. It takes tolls in other ways on lives.
And anger is very real. It just depends how you live through it, how you live with it, and how you communicate through it.
And you can use your audio journaling to let go of some of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great topic today, like always, Lori.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Have a wonderful summer. This is a great book to pick up, throw in your suitcase. If you're going to the beach, throw it in your beach bag. It's just an easy read, but fabulous, fabulous articles.
And it's easy to read, correct? Like it's
Yeah.
not okay.
Yeah.
That's
You-
a big thing I find.
Yeah.
It's got to be relatable. Cool. All right, take care.
Take care.